At 7 o'clock, I'd like to call the November 25th Board of Selectmen meeting to order and ask if you could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do a roll call.
Cathy Tendrich.
Gagne.
Kevin Cunningham.
Becky Hewitt.
This time I'd entertain a motion to accept and approve the minutes of the November 12th Board of Selectmen meeting. Unless there's any other discussion, I can entertain that motion now.
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from November 12th.
Second,
I wasn't here.
you read through the packet?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This time, item D, which is public comments. So if there's anybody from the public who has any questions or comments, concerns, this would be an opportunity to speak now.
Naomi Smith, Plainfield. We have on the agenda tonight to discuss the residents and members of the Charter Revision Commission, their intent to erect a Charter Revision Committee.
Correct.
How soon?
As soon as possible. I have to look through the state statutes and how the whole process would work and dates, and ask if any resident would be interested to put their name forward.
Because I'm a little concerned with that happening this soon because of our town clerk changing hands. The clerk plays such a big part with that committee.
She was more than willing to help us out in that process, so we can start it out. I've been through a few of them myself, so we do know. I mean, we've all been through a few charter revisions, so I hear your concerns. I will bring that forth to Louisa to ask her about making sure we're all set.
Yeah, depending on the start date, when the finish date.
Correct.
You know, I mean, I'm aware that once you get it started, you have so many days for everything to be completed. So is it going to fit in while Louise is still here? Is it going to roll over into when the new clerk comes on board?
Right. It would probably start when she's here and then continue on through the new. But I'm going to ask Louisa if she wouldn't mind participating.
Okay. Very good. And then my second question is the transportation.
Item number 8, transportation.
Yeah, because one of the things that like is going to be an issue is the fact that you have this on the agenda, but you have public comment at the beginning.
Understood.
So now you're going to discuss it, and then I won't be able to have any questions.
No, actually,
Unless you're going to reopen the
just so
floor.
you know, I will reopen the floor to allow people to speak. That's
Okay.
not a problem at all.
Okay, great. Then I'll wait till that item.
Okay, fair enough. Anybody else? Yes.
Mr. Cunningham, you signed your retreat for your election. You missed something.
I'm sorry?
To be a fact, may I approach it?
Sure. Just would give you your name and address, everybody.
Yeah, now, 20 Pondview Road,
Excellent. Where would those be?
270 Pond Hill Road.
Thank you very much. I'll make sure those are picked up. And if you see any other ones anywhere else, that would be.
No, that's it.
Okay,
I go by them every day of the week.
okay. Appreciate that, thank you. Anybody else?
Dan Reel, Doherty Ave. Question on the Charter Revision Committee.
Yes.
When are letters being accepted to express interest in that?
As soon as possible.
Well, I'm interested, so
Okay.
I'll be first. Second, I know we've had problems with the railroad as far as defective crossings and stuff of the like have gone. I did find the statutes. We can get a hearing, and to be super helpful, I did draft such a letter. Obviously, you can adopt it, you can sign it, but this will get us a hearing with the Commissioner of Transportation. Of course, what kind of a meeting would it be if I didn't remind everybody that the town was suing itself? So I do have one and a copy of a letter that would instruct council to go ahead and end that suit if I could, just be super super helpful. I mean, again, you can keep the language, you can tweak the language, but the really, really awesome thing about both these problems is stroke of a pen, law of the town, pretty amazing, isn't it? We can solve 2 problems right there.
Mr. Real, would you be able to come into my office and we can talk further about this?
Sure.
Okay. Why don't you give a call to the town anytime you can, we can make some time to talk.
Sure. Just one thing on the town suing itself, that's really time sensitive because say if that didn't get started immediately, the trial is January 8th and there's a status conference call on the 10th. So I understand a brief is already due, so that's a really time sensitive one.
Okay. Thank you.
2 more.
Okay.
Did you have a chance to have any follow-ups with the roof for the highway department from the last Board of Finance meeting? As far as, because it was approved, why that has not,
Sure.
like, where is it at?
If you'd like, I was going to bring that up in other
Okay.
to discuss
all right.
that. Anything else?
Yes, and the budget being over for the utility bills. How are you planning on addressing that?
Good questions. I still have to run through all of the bills we currently have, where we stand in status, and talk to the Board of Finance about those.
Okay.
Need to get a good handle on where we are before we actually do any action, so that's what the plan is.
Well, my concern with the roof is because I know that in going back and reviewing the meeting where the roof was discussed, there was actually a part of it where there was discussion that when it rains, it leaks by the electrical panel. So now that's a safety issue. So now the Board of Finance, Ron was discussing in the last meeting, doing things, bringing in some agencies for insurance rates and getting better rates for insurance. How are we going to do that if we have a roof that's leaking by an electrical panel? And if an employee gets harmed, that's now documented. That'd be a negligence case, wouldn't it be, Andrea?
I think so.
I just have concerns with that.
And so do I.
Good.
Yeah. Anybody else? And again, it's open forum through the questions, so we can go through that. Fair enough? All right, we'll go through new business. Item number 1, consider an act on tax refunds from the tax collector totaling $337.13, and that's for Griswold Rubber Company. You have that in your packets. Any discussion? Entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the tax refund to Griswold Rubber Company for $337.13.
And a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay. And item number 2 is the election of officers. According to the town charter 91A, we do the officer elections. At this point, we have 3 to fill: chair, vice chair, and secretary. Entertain a motion to open up the voting for chairperson. So it's a motion to open for voting for chair.
It's possible to do a slate.
Can do that too, I guess. It's up to you.
Do a slate.
And what would your motion be then?
Well, for Kevin Cunningham, chair, Mark Gagne is vice chair, and Cathy Tendrich is select. I'm the secretary.
So, that's a motion for a slate. And a second. I can second that. Any other discussion at this time? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 And no opposed, we'll go forward. What you also have in your packet is item number 3, to approve the 2020 meeting dates. According to the charter, by 2A. And number 3, with all the meeting dates starting February 10th going forward into 2021, with the month of January. So when we do this, we need to make the motion so that it takes action and it's active as of January 1. So I would entertain a motion to approve this with start date of January 1 for the proposed meeting dates for the Board of Selectmen.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting dates starting January 1st.
Okay,
I'll second that.
motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. approved. So, next one is number 4, appoint acting first selectman. According to the Charter 648, we need to act on a acting first selectman in case of my absence. So, at this point, I would entertain a motion for acting first selectman. Hearing none, I guess I would entertain a motion for Art Gagne to be acting first selectman. Need a second?
Second that.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, next up, appoint a town attorney. I'm going to ask to table this item. This is in section 8.2 of the town charter. I'm just starting to still get more documentation coming in from different attorneys, so I'd like to table that. If it's okay. Motion to table.
Make a motion, we table appointing the town attorney.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 6 is discuss interested residents to be members of the Charter Revision Commission. According to 11.7 of the town charter, we can have a Charter Revision Commission as early as right away. So what we're looking to do is, there's so many things that need to be adjusted in that. I think one of the things we talked about before was the annual meeting for November, which in most cases you don't get the audit completed until later on December, sometimes January, even to the point of sometimes in early February, as we were told during the whole process. So it kind of makes sense to talk about different things we can change on the charter to help and support not only the town, but also the residents so they get their information properly. So I think that would be one of the things that we could talk about. But I would be asking the residents of the town of Plainfield if they were interested in joining on to a Charter Revision Commission to submit their request to the town hall, first selectman's office, and we could go from there. That would be, unless anybody else has anything else that they, very specific that they want to talk about on the charter itself. Not at this time. Okay. Item number 7, which is discuss permanent building committee, and I'd asked people to consider this because all of our buildings in the town of Plainfield really need to have an association to the 5-year capital plan, so we know a lot of different things about each building. I asked the town tax collector. She gave me a list of all of the different buildings that the town of Plainfield owns, the year that they were built. We need to understand when the roofs were done on each one, when the last time the electrical work was done, if there was any heating systems and how old they are, so it affects the town's way that we budget things out and we can plan it properly. So the 5-year capital plan has a real meaning to it, and has an understanding of, from their recommendations, it would be, here's what we see as the age of a building and how long it's going to be serviceable for life. If its serviceable needs are outnumbering the cost for fix-up, maybe they can also recommend something else to go forward. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention that we might want to consider that. I'll let you think about that. We'll talk about that a little further in the next meeting.
That's fine, I guess.
There's some points there?
Well, ideas of who you should have on if you didn't.
Okay.
That's all. You want to hear that?
Yeah.
Okay, building and grounds, a building inspector, head maintenance DOE, HVAC contractor, an electrical contractor, and either fire marshal or inspector, at least those.
It's a good start. If possible, if we have anybody in the trades who's like to, put their name forth to help in specific areas that would be helpful.
That's why I went generic ones too, to see if they would change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. There is a little question with that one because as we go along in the process of, in the town charter, it tells you have to do certain things. You can do certain things. You can actually have ad hoc committees. And years ago, there was an ad hoc committee for a building committee in 2014. There was another one in 2016, and they never disbanded either one. So I have to go back with Louise and try to figure out why they were like that and see if we can actually properly create a new one, or if we have to disband the old ones first. So there's some paperwork we have to follow back on and kind of figure it out. Transportation, the discussion of transportation was, it's an ongoing issue, and we're working still to go forward with it. I think, Cathy, you brought it along, and it's pretty close, I can tell you that, it's pretty close. I went down to the CCOG meeting, they invited me down to the CCOG meeting because they were the ones who wanted to tie in to the town of Plainfield with NECOG to create a proper transportation to link the entire eastern part of the state. I met with Michael Carroll, and he was the transportation for SEAT. He's the Southeast Area Transit District General Manager for SEAT. And everybody on that committee wanted this to go forward. There was only one that had an issue, and that was Griswold. And First Selectman Todd Babbitt said he was concerned because he was going to lose 4 routes. And SEAT, however, told him that they can make some adjustments in those routes so they can still possibly do some pickups. So what they proposed to do is put up another survey, not for NECOG, but for CCOG, just on those riderships in that area. So that's what they were doing right now. They were putting together one more proposal for for the ridership so that they can have a survey. And Colleen Flexler put that together right away the next day. It was already set to go, so we're just waiting for Tom Babbitt to push it out there at the locations that they were looking for. And hopefully by January, that can be complete. And I will make sure I push to see if they can get it on their agenda for January, because December is usually a kind of a fun get together for the COGs. They usually meet somewhere else and they don't do a lot of business. So I'll continually push with Mr. Babbitt to make sure he can go forward with this.
Do you know if DOT actually came out and wrote the route?
Yes.
Because they had talked about Route 8 and Route 9.
Yeah, they rode the routes.
So was the ridership there or was it not there?
At the point that they thought it was there, they're okay with that. So
Okay.
it's just a matter of he's concerned because the 4 routes that they were talking about modifying, happened to be 2 of them were the elderly centers, and 1 was a veterans. So they didn't want to drop them off of the routes altogether. So they wanted to continue with that. So that's what they were talking about, and what I'll do is every meeting, we'll just follow it up and make sure we have an understanding where we stand.
And did they talk about the cost at all?
Yeah, actually the cost, because it's going to be prorated. You think about it, it was going to start July 1. Well, the prorate cost at this point, if I can get my numbers here correctly, if it was a 1-year program at this point, our 17% is now going to be $20,475, which I anticipate would drop down even lower, because if we're now talking about January, because this paper was written by Colleen and Phil Check about how much this would be right away.
So you're talking about January 1st, so...
Well, not even first, because again, they meet, I think they meet in the middle of the month.
So how did the federal dollars get put in there and the state dollars? Because there was no money in the original for any transportation.
Yeah, the State Department of Transportation said they're going to be responsible for $40,950.
40,000.
Okay, here's where I would definitely like to chime in.
Sure.
For what route system?
Yes. I'll get you a copy of this.
For what route system? Because my understanding of the NECOG route system is that there were 2 different proposals. One was with the deviated route, that was the extended system, and then there was a limited system that was going to only provide transportation down the Route 12 to CCOG, and that was the cheaper package, which I can tell you will not service the residents of Plainfield, and the ridership will not be there. Because how are we going to get people from the rural roads with disabilities to Route 12 if there's no deviated routes?
This is a deviated fixed route all-day service, according to what they said. If you would like, I can go and talk to Mr. Philcheck to follow up, and I give you a call back on what that was.
Absolutely, and Philcheck should really get something in writing from the DOT on that to provide for you, because that was my understanding where the issue was with the funding. Is that the DOT never denied funding on the limited route, it was the extended route system where the issue was. And the other concern I have is, so there's going to be a fee for the CCOG, the southern end as well as the northern end, or it's just going to be one amount?
What about?
Okay.
So now you're saying, Kevin, they've gone back to, they're going to do the full refund route?
That's what it says here, the deviated fixed route all day long, all-day service. I can get clarification on what that
Would
really
you
is.
please?
Sure.
Because I know our last conversation is there was nothing yet for Northeast Transit. They were actually gonna try and figure out how they were gonna do some kind of special transportation in the Northeast end, because my concern was that that's great, you have your seat bus coming to Big Y, but how are your residents gonna get there? So Dennis Solinsky had said, well, we'll talk about that and we'll figure out if they had even mentioned like an Uber driver going around and picking up people, and I'm like, that's really not gonna benefit
Right.
the people that need.
I think the route that they
Northeast.
concluded was it would also be, do like a stop at Big Y, so that you still have the sidewalk areas to access, and then from there, we go to the Big Y. So from CVS to Big Y would be covered.
But would it hit all the villages?
That's what I was told.
Okay,
I'll verify that.
okay, please do.
And that way, each month when we come back, or each meeting we come back, we'll talk about the updates. Okay?
Yeah, because my honest opinion is if it's not the deviated route system with the expanded route, I would not support that going in front of Board of Finance. It's not going to benefit all of the residents. It's just not worth the money.
Okay.
So that's just my opinion.
And will the Board of Finance, Kevin, I know that we have almost $13,000 in the budget.
Yep.
And then the Board of Finance had approved a little over 5,000 that was never moved because that was approved last year.
Yeah, it was last year's money, so.
Yeah, so,
I've already talked to our finance director to find different areas we can, multiple areas we can actually take that money from to make up the difference.
okay.
And so he gave me he gave me 2 options and I gave him a third. So,
Okay, so can you tell me what the...
sure, well, the first one would have been contingency.
Mhm.
The next one would have been from what he said would be supplies, but in different areas. And the third one was the one that I came up with, which was, we have a couple of positions we haven't hired for yet,
Mhm.
and those monies would be left over that we haven't used yet, so that would be pretty easy to transfer over. Those are the 3
So you're
options.
looking at highway supervisor?
Highway, and also, there were a couple of the smaller positions, I think that we said we were gonna hire. We haven't hired the maintenance position here. We haven't,
Mhm.
yeah. It's enough where we can actually cover that cost.
Well, we have a part-time one, so,
Yeah.
okay.
On the 20,000, and you might have said it, I might have missed it. That's going to be for the startup of the program starting when?
Well, according to the papers, so again, I went to the meeting in anticipation that they were gonna go yes,
Yeah.
and that we would start right away on January 1st. Obviously, it's not gonna happen, because they're not gonna get back into the whole thing of putting out the survey, getting the answers back, and then getting Mr. Babbitt happy about what the changes were. So I'm gonna anticipate that at their January meeting, they're gonna probably vote on it at that point.
And that's just for CCOG or for both?
Well, I'm still to talk to Mr. Philcheck up here about this, but I don't see a problem with up here for NECOG.
So when would that one start for the 20,000? I mean, of course.
I don't have a date for you, but I will get that.
So how is he
Floor
coding?
isn't
Well-
open. The floor isn't open to public discussion.
Actually, it is, I'm allowing for back and forth. Yep.
So with the 20,000, how is he figuring that for, like, would that be for how many months? Like, what's the?
Well, again, his start date was anticipated January 1st. I'll have to go back to him and talk to about what happens if we go to a start date at the end of January instead, and what the modifications for the numbers are. Obviously, it'll be a little less,
Okay.
and making sure that ECOG votes on it, and also CCOG has a final vote on it as well. All right. The final one is number 9, which is setting a town meeting date. For those people who were in attendance at the Board of Finance meeting the other night, there was an issue concerning the vehicle purchase, because we have one vehicle which has been taken off the road, and they need that for 2 departments. So there was a motion and a vote to allow for purchase of $20,042 and 25 cents. I guess they had a particular vehicle in mind. And then they tried to motion to schedule a town meeting for December 2nd at 7 p.m. The only problem with that was it was brought to my attention that on the town charter, both the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance have to approve that first, so I'm asking that you would consider, for the Selectmen to consider to set a town meeting date according to Section 25A of the town charter, for December 2nd at Town Hall at 7 PM to vote on that one item for taking out of the general fund for the vehicle purchase of $20,042.25.
I'll move that we set the town meeting date for December 2nd, 7 PM, Town Hall Auditorium.
Oh.
For the purpose of purchasing the vehicle.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed is good. And with that, we'll go into the other, and just to answer the question about the roof. So what we're doing is we're putting specs together for the town highway garage roof. I'm going to ask and request that we put two types of specs. The first spec is going to be a full replacement of the roof, because there's three sections over there. If you can remember, the discussion was the highway garage roof, and that's the one you said was leaking in the corner. The second one was the DATCO roofing area, that building, and the third one was actually for animal control. So with that, we were budgeted up to $150,000. So I'd like to put an RFP out there to say we're looking for replacement, total replacement of those three roofs. The second one would be, in light of the fact that we have other options, the options would be to do an overlay skin on top of that roof instead. I was speaking to an engineer today, happened to be into the office, so I asked him. And he's had one done for another town in Massachusetts, and he gave me a ballpark figure on it. Again, nothing I'm going to hold him to, but a ballpark figure. They had the whole thing done similar size for about $60,000. So, then I asked him about warranty and guarantee, and it was 15 years. So I'd like to put out an RFP, at least to look at the options and see what we have and available. And I know it's kind of late in the season, but we have to get rolling on it because we want to be as safe as possible up there. So
What kind of roof is it?
it's a metal, you
Yeah,
know,
you can overlay that?
yeah. Yeah. Unless someone else has another idea to do that, but that's what I was proposed to do in the RFPs. When Kyle gets back tomorrow, we're going to walk through step by step what we're looking for an RFP and put that out there.
It would be too much to remove it.
That's where you get to the 150,000 plus. And again, the good part about that was if you're doing the overlay, it still has a 15-year warranty, so it helps. But let's look at the right thing to do and make sure we do it the first time right.
I'm assuming it's rusting.
Yeah, there's some areas that have holes in it.
Right.
And the stacks also have an issue with the stacks going out where it's actually not sealed properly anyway. So those are also.
Overlaying on top of that rust, is it going to?
It'll be done with the RFP. We'll make sure that they take out what they need to.
But with the overlay, is it going to handle the weight?
Yeah, it's a skin. It's not a deep, heavy metal. It's a skin.
And if you're going to pay $60,000 for 15 years, when you do the RFP, are you going to look at, because I know we had talked about doing the regular roof on it, and we were looking at like a 50-year warranty on it. So, I mean, if it's only going to be good for 15 years, and then you're going to have to spend that.
That's why I want to at least put them out there to the public, and let the public decide which way they want to go with it.
The 50-year roof is
For the full
For the
replacement.
going back to now.
Yeah. I still want to talk to a couple of the roofing contractors and ask them opinions as well, just to see if I get some ideas. Maybe they have something else that might be able to resolve it, but I don't think so. I think where we're at right now.
You know, we talked about rubber too.
Rubber seal?
The rubber.
I've done that before on my roofs. And
So, there are options out there, it's just, I would think to spend $60,000 and only have a 15-year warranty, that's not very long when you really think about it.
it's part of the reason why I wanted a building committee, because if they have people who know what they're talking about, can recommend things more than we can, I'd like to see that. I'll ask one more time, are there any other questions from the public now that we're at that stage?
Yeah, I have a question. June Gagne, Central Village. It's not really a question, but a concern about the fact that you have to have a town meeting for over $10,000, according to the charter.
Yep.
So maybe when you look at the charter, you could change that figure and bring it more up with the time, because $10,000 back whenever that was written is different than what it is now. So that was a concern I was thinking about. Maybe put that down on your charter list. I'm sure you have many.
Thank you.
Jack down, moves up front. You're gonna overlay the roof that's already there, right?
We don't know that yet. We're gonna ask for RFP for both replacing the entire roof and also an RFP for the overlay to see which one may work best for the town. And also bring it to the public, to let them decide which way they want to go with it.
Yeah, but doing an overlay, you're putting a roof on top of what we got. You have 15 warranty, right? 15 years, right? Okay. Our children and grandchildren in 15 years are gonna be stuck with it. You ain't gonna be sitting there and I won't be asking the questions, probably. You're just adding a problem on top of a problem for our young people,
Well, thank you for your input.
okay?
Okay.
Matt Rabia, 288 Snake Meadow Road. For the Charter Revision Commission, off the top of your head, do you recall what the criteria for the membership of such a commission would be as far as total number of members, whether they can be town employees, number from currently active board members, and or any other relevant criteria?
If I can remember off the top of my head, I think it's 30% of the 30% of the membership to be employees. You can have, I think it's up to, according to the state statute, I think you have up to 11? I'm not positive, don't remember that. And then, what was the other criteria you're looking for? Oh, obviously town resident.
And current, any restrictions on how many active board members versus non-board member residents?
I don't think that's an issue, I think it's more of employee.
Thank you.
I remember something like 80%,
I have to take a look at the numbers, yeah.
20 to 80%, something like that.
Yep, I'll look it up.
You had 9 members. 9 or over.
Yeah, before I forget, Dan Real, Doherty Ave. I'd mentioned those 2 letters in front of you earlier. Like I said, ready to go, easy package solution, 2 problems solved right off the bat for the cost of postage. The one thing I should add, because this always happens this time of year with especially the railroad crossing down near the post office. When the weather starts getting cold, that's when it starts malfunctioning the most. You know, you get those malfunctions where the gates come down, their lights go on, there is no train, and vice versa. So it's not terribly uncommon around this time of year that someone has to call the police have to come out, police have to put flares up. So that's, it's a pretty serious issue. I think it's pretty time sensitive, especially since what happened on Little Bridge. But while I'm on that thought, I'm just spitballing here, I'm throwing it out. You guys can do whatever you want with this idea. But I mean, if we are looking for money and we are going to live with unsafe railroad crossings and we're going to allow the train to block traffic, maybe we should think about fining the railroad every time they do it for 40 minutes. I mean, you know, if we're gonna live with the problem and not solve it, we can make the best out of it. Just a thought experiment, you know.
Okay. Will you be willing to come in soon?
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right,
Look at it this week or next.
thank you.
Yep.
I'm not sure, Kevin, if you can answer this, or Kathy, the annual town meeting, there wasn't enough for the quorum. Was there a rescheduled date on that? Because I didn't catch it if there was.
No, that would have to come from the
Sorry.
selectmen.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Do you have a date for that yet chosen?
No, I haven't chosen a date for that yet. What I'm gonna do is the next meeting, we'll have that on the agenda for a date.
Okay.
I had another one of those thoughts again. You're looking for town council, correct? My suggestions with town council would be whoever you hire, make sure they have lots of insurance, and make sure if they're gonna give a legal opinion, they comment on the rights and remedies for every party involved. Because I think a lot of us in this room realize that this town's had a weird, it's not that uncommon with municipalities to have like weird litigation situations, but I've personally litigated enough of them as a party where I'm pretty much looking at this like, what in the heck happened? And then the suit concludes one way or the other, and then I talk to people on the other side and they go, I can't believe our lawyers told us to do this. So, I mean, it would be great if we kind of got that straight with whoever was hired right off the bat. You know, because it seems to be a recurring problem, and one thing I do want to talk to you about, I have that proposed ordinance, which, you know, if we implement something like it, you know, I think we're well on our way to probably saving $100,000 a year for roofs and computer parts and vehicles.
Okay,
We could certainly use it.
thank you. Hearing nothing else, if get a motion to adjourn?
So before we adjourn,
Okay.
Kevin, on other, can you just let me know the status of the finance director, how that's going?
Sure. If I put an ad out again to look for, a search for, because I'd like to be able to have total input on what goes
Okay.
on. So the ad has already been placed,
Okay,
and I'm hoping within a few weeks we can resolve the issue.
okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, entertain a motion to adjourn,
Motion that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
and the time is 7:36. All in favor of adjourn, say aye.
I